Welcome back to new session. This is your trainer and PMP coach Anand. This session is continuation of scope management knowledge area. In this session, you will learn control scope process, which is last process in scope management knowledge area. The learning objective of this session are: we will start with the process overview, where I will explain importance and purpose of a control scope process. We'll talk about scope creep, then control scope process definition. We'll get into details of input tool techniques and output, and we'll focus on some of the key tools and technique, which is variance analysis and trend analysis. And finally, we will do a quick review. Let's take a quick look at all the 6 processes under scope management knowledge area. So first process is plan scope management, collect requirement, define scope, create work breakdown structure, validate scope, and control scope. First 4 processes are part of planning process group, and last 2 processes are part of monitoring and controlling process group. Now this process is about controlling scope, which means you are delivering what is approved in the scope baseline, nothing less or nothing more. However, we all know change is inevitable. The key is to make sure that the change is done in a controlled way by taking other constraints into account. Therefore, some type of change control process is mandatory for every project. Controlling project scope ensures all requested changes and recommended corrective actions or preventive actions are processed through a proper integrated change control process. Control scope is also used to manage actual changes when they occur and is integrated with other control processes. As a project manager, under control scope process, you will monitor and control project work. This is to check variance and to ensure team is delivering what is required to deliver. Avoid scope creep, and required changes are processed through a proper integrated change control process. Scope creep. Scope creep is uncontrolled expansion to the product or project scope without adjustment to time, cost, and resources. In simple words, the new scope which get added to the project are not taken through a proper process. Scope creep can happen due to poorly defined requirements, where requirements are not complete or consistent, lack of stakeholder engagement, not managing scope baseline, means scope was not formally baselined at all, poor change control process, means changes are done without taking it through a proper change control process and without integrated impact analysis. Let's take a look at a process definition. Control scope is a process of monitoring the status of project and product scope and managing changes to the scope baseline. It allows scope baseline to be maintained throughout the project. Let's go through inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. Inputs are project management plan, project documents, work performance data, and organizational process assets. We'll talk about each in detail. Project management plan. Some of the components that may be needed as an input to this process are scope management plan. It contains guidelines on how to do all the processes of a scope management, including how to control scope. Requirements management plan. It describes how the project requirement will be managed. Scope baseline contains project scope statement, WBS and WBS dictionary. Change management plan is developed as a part of integration management knowledge area. It describes the change control process. Will it be done by a project team? Will it be done by a change control board? And if so, who will be on the board? How decisions will be taken? Configuration management plan will describe how updated project will be version controlled so that everyone is working on the current version of the project and not on earlier version. This plan is used when change request is accepted. What if monitoring processes shows that the work is not being done according to plan or scope baseline? This is where performance measurement baselines are useful. As you know, three major constraints are scope, schedule, and cost. Earn value analysis combines measures of each of these three constraints to get the measurement of overall project performance. So earn value analysis tells you whether you are ahead of schedule or behind schedule and whether you are within your budget or exceeding your budget. The next input is project documents, under which you have requirements documentation. It contains all requirements like a business requirement, stakeholder requirement, security, safety, etc. Requirement traceability matrix helps to detect the impact of any change or deviation from a scope baseline on the project objective. As you remember, requirement traceability matrix has a column which defines which requirements are linked to which project objectives. Lesson learned register. Lesson learned earlier on the project with regards to change request may help project manager to control the scope better in future. Work performance data. The scope completed or number of deliverable produced in the last reporting period goes into work performance data. Project manager will compare work plan and the actual work done. Change log contains work performance data on the number of change requests received and the number of change requests accepted. All this work performance data will be used for variance analysis and trend analysis. Organization process asset. Now, what are the OPAs that can influence the control scope process? It includes the existing policies, procedures, and guidelines to control the scope, the templates and reporting methods to be used for monitoring the scope. Let's talk about tools and techniques. Project manager has to focus on two areas for monitoring and controlling of the project scope. Project manager will monitor what's the approved plan and is the project going according to the plan. And under controlling, project manager will check if there are any delays and if yes, then how we can get the project back on track. And this is where data analysis technique is used. The two data analysis techniques are variance analysis and trend analysis. Variance analysis. This is where you take the work that was supposed to be done or deliverables to be delivered from the scope baseline and compare it with the actual work done obtained from the work performance data. Now let's assume there is a variance detected. Then what PM will do? So PM will check if variance exceeds any threshold. If it exceeds, then he will analyze how this variance will affect other schedule and cost constraint. Also, project manager will find out if a defect repair or corrective action is required to bring the scope back to the baseline. All this analysis is done and analyzed and contextualized data will result as an output called as work performance information, and this may further results into change request. Trend analysis. It is a comparison of current performance with the performance measurement baseline. This is usually done through a earn value analysis. Analysis will show if there is a trend towards improving or deteriorating performance. If it is deteriorating, then find out if a preventive action is required to reverse the trend. Remember, when question is on trend analysis, focus is on examining project performance over a time. The outputs are work performance information, change request, project management plan updates, project document updates. Work performance information is a result of variance analysis and trend analysis. Work performance information will tell if a project is going according to the plan or not. If not, then PM can investigate the reason for the current variance or the trends that suggest future variance. Other information is about impact of variance in scope scope on schedule and cost constraint. The work performance information is then used as an input to monitor and control project work process, which is overall monitoring and controlling process under integration management knowledge area. Change request. Change request will be raised to fix the project scope to fit in the current plan or to change the current plan to fit in the project scope, especially if a plan was found to be unrealistic. If the scope needs to be changed, then there will be a change request outlining which scope item need to be changed. If the plan need to be changed, any of the subsidiary plans like scope management plan and various other baseline may get changed. There are three types of change request: corrective action, preventive action, and defect repair. If a variances from the plan discovered in the variance analysis means non-conformities are present, then project manager need to take corrective actions to make sure that the variance is corrected and the project scope can continue as planned. If a trend towards a future variance from the plan is discovered in the trend analysis, means there are possible future non-conformities, then project manager need to take preventive actions to make sure that the potential variance in the future is prevented by changing the performance baselines. If a variance from plan already occurred, means past non-conformities, then project manager need to make a defect repair to make sure that the variance is repaired and the project scope can continue as planned. Project management plan updates. So various plans can get updated as a result, starting with scope management plan. During this process, more efficient and effective ways of controlling scope may be discovered. For example, what are the causes of variance and choosing a best action while raising the change request. Now, accordingly, portion of the scope management plan may get updated to ensure that similar mistakes are not done in future. Baselines. Scope baseline, schedule baseline, and cost baseline. The scope baseline may be changed if a change request is approved, which may result in changing the schedule baseline and the cost baseline. If the scope baseline is found to be unrealistic, then the scope baseline and other baselines need to be changed, and this will result in changing the performance measurement baseline, which is used in earned value analysis. Note that earned value analysis combines the measure of all three constraints, that is, scope, cost, and schedule. Project document updates. Now, some of the documents which get updated are lesson learned register. If a control scope is changed to make it more effective and efficient, as we learned on previous slide, then this information also will be added to lesson learned register. Requirements documentation and requirement traceability matrix. If there is a change in the scope and change request is raised, after approval, the scope baseline, which includes project scope statement, WBS and WBS dictionary, will be updated. However, if a scope change is big, then even the requirements documentation, based upon which deliverables and work packages are derived, need to be changed. In this case, the requirement documentation will be updated. Good job, you have completed control scope process. Let's do a quick review. We started with the process overview and you learned the importance and purpose of the control scope process. You learned what is scope creep, gone through the process definition. We gone through all input tool techniques and output, and learned what is variance analysis and trend analysis. Thank you.